everybody. How's it going?
Good.
Good.
Everything's going well.
Yeah.
Things are working as they're supposed to, I guess.
Good.
Good,
I
yeah.
hope. I'm here with two of my lovely patrons. If you guys would like to introduce yourselves, that would be cool.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I'm Marianne. I live in Germany. I'm a physicist. I'm an atheist. And general misanthrope.
Good. Excellent.
And now me. Welcome to Internet, for I am some random geek. As you can tell by the R2-D2 bullard, the R2-D2 sweater, and the R2-D2 leggings. I am contrastingly obligated to show off my leggings almost every live stream I do. Almost every live stream I do.
Yes.
Yes. And yes, we do have him on contract, so you know.
I guess I am a YouTuber, even though I haven't posted a edited video in about like 2 months, partly because of laziness, partly because of life, partly because of work and overtime at work, and partly because of like politics, as I was being politically active. And then it's just like, man, I don't want to like post a video up after that thing and that thing and that thing. But I think enough time has gone on that I should also just again get over my laziness and just like write and then edit and just like, okay, firing up the laptop, open the editing program, not Skyrim. Okay.
Yes. We've all been there. Yeah, it's what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Well, drink entry drinks like bang with a bit of alcohol. And I continue to introduce myself as I am a non-binary, a male, men plus, so he, him is my pronouns. My geeky qualifications is I have over 900 video games on Steam, and then like a couple of 200 in physical copies across many different systems. I'm a fan of good anime, and I am a secular, humorous, atheist, and Gnostic deist. Or at least that's how I introduced my religion or stuff like that. But I'm also an intersectional feminist and anarcho-communist. I think that's it. I couldn't add more labels, but I think I'll stop there.
Yeah,
Well,
I think that's enough to go with.
I think I'll add I'm a socialist and a gender, so they, them is fine.
Okay. And I'm she, her. I'm pretty cis myself. I'm all right with that. So that's good. I think we've all introduced ourselves. It's a good start. I'm great at this, everybody. I should ask, is everything okay from people in the chat? Is the sound okay? Is the video okay? Is there any problems I should know about that I won't know how to fix? All right, I'll just wait and see if anybody says something.
Hello, chat. Yes, we're talking to you. You can now engage with us.
Sound and video, cool. Good. All right, Sabrina. Yay.
Hey, Sabrina.
Hey.
Hey, everyone in the chat. So anyway, now I don't know if you guys have been sort of following, but a couple of people have sort of in the general feminist community or, you know, close there and have put out videos recently talking about how we deal with associations, like, and friendships with people who are maybe problematic or have, like, how do you manage that? And I thought that would be an interesting thing to sort of talk about. I've got thoughts on that, but I'm also kind of like open, to hearing good arguments or interesting thoughts on that. So I don't know, does anybody have anything they'd like to throw out just to begin with?
Well, I guess well, the thing is, for me, I'm also a former poker player, and so my mind sometimes goes straight to like strategic poker strategies that I learn, or some of the philosophies that I learned from there. That you can ask 16 different poker players how to play this one specific hand of like Nolan, Texas Hold'em, and you get 16 different answers. Because the universal truth about poker, it depends. And so part of me is kind of there, where it's just like. It is one thing if you are friends with like a problematic person, like say anti-SJW. I kind of hate that term too, or anti-feminist. And you, but they're one of the nice ones, and you. Sometimes that friendship can sort of blind you, I think, to that person and how and how some people are more critical of that person for like not speaking and up about these sort of things, or you just now realize how troubling Trump is, or stuff like that. But yet, also in mine, honestly, with me, sometimes it'll be like it depends on like how close I am to that person, the person who's a friend with like a problematic person. If I'm not that close to that person, like I watch their content, I watch their videos, but I have had my distance with them, or I'm not too close with them, then I can say, yeah, I will stop watching their videos or stop giving to their Patreon and stuff like that. But if like someone else I'm much closer to, hey, we've been hangouts together, hey, I got them drunk with them, and hey, we are mutuals and friends and stuff like that, it will be more difficult to me to like try to separate that and think, well, okay, maybe it is problematic for that person to like go on these live streams or to kill stream or like with these terrible alt-right people and stuff like that, even though they will say the reason why I go on there is that I'm one of the few and only progressive voice that they actually listen to. And there is something to that. But then again, I also, like, I just watched, I thought Slime's civility video where he kind of says, well, hey, if you like debate these people or debate these ideas, you give the illusion that it's kind of these sort of things are debatable, or you accidentally give some credence to that and stuff like that. But yet people can still, if that's not my reason to do that, or every time like this person goes on those streams, I'm not going to be friendly with them, I'm not going to be chatty with them. I am going to challenge them on their beliefs or what they say. And yeah, so and yeah, again, like in poker, it depends.
So I'm not much one for interaction with people online. So I'm not into that whole anti-social justice warrior SQ blah. But in real life, I have ended friendships over problematic things because I just don't have the bandwidth to deal with this shit. So, yeah, there's that. And where my family is from, people are pretty conservative and some are even openly racist. And this is one of the reasons I tend to avoid visiting family there, because I don't want to deal with that shit. And so I don't know if you are familiar with the blog by Captain Awkward.
What?
The blog by Captain Awkward. Do you know that?
No.
I'll post a link. She is a advice blogger.
Oh, okay.
And she gets tons and tons of letters asking, yeah, my boyfriend, girlfriend, relative, friend is a really, really nice person, but does XYZ, what tons of shitty stuff. And in one of her very early letters, she called this the concept of the Darth Vader boyfriend, because they can feel the good in him, and they
yes.
and if the just love enough, do enough, they will bring the good out and reform them, and this just doesn't happen. So the people who change their mind are fairly rare, and I'm not one of the people who has to try and convince them that they're wrong, so I don't.
Yeah, and I think that is a motivation for a lot of people, is thinking that, well, I can be the person to be the one to talk to them and get them to understand, and then things are going to be better. And within reason, I think that can be true, but I do think that there's a point where you just have to say, well, this is not working. I know that I've convinced people to change their mind and change their ways of looking at things before. And it's fraught. It's a difficult, I think that one of the things that isn't brought up a lot is that to do it, you have to put yourself in a morally difficult position, right?
Yeah.
And that's something you're doing to yourself. And so I think that's really, I read once a book, and I can't remember what it was. It's an ethics book where they talked about Attila the Hun's gardener problem. That's what they called it. Like, say you're hanging with Attila the Hun, but you're not one of his soldiers, but you're just, there helping him with his forsythia and his, keeping his garden pretty. And like, you're not involved in all those bad things that Attila is involved with. So, but then, as time goes on, it gets awkward, right? Like I had a friend, and this isn't nothing to do with like social justice or anything, but I had a girlfriend when I was young who she just started, I don't know, doing some things that were just morally questionable. And it was like she had a steady boyfriend that she lived with, and they had kids together, and she started just cheating a lot and lying, and that was awkward. And then she was doing like really crappy, underhanded things with even the people that she was cheating with. And, you're sitting there and you're going, well, we're friends, and this shouldn't have anything to do with our friendship, but it feels uncomfortable. Like, it feels uncomfortable because I feel like I have to talk about this with you, and you don't want to talk about it with me because I'm not with you on this one. And then you're just sort of sitting there, and it just doesn't feel right. And at a certain point, I think you get to the place where you just have to say, I don't think this friendship thing is working out here. Like, we're just not, it's just not happening. And it's not that I hate you now. It's not that, like, I just disagree with you and I'm just going to do terrible things. I'm just going to write you off. It's just, we're not, like, this just isn't working. I think that's, go ahead.
I think that's like, there's another question that everyone has to like ask themselves as well. Can you separate politics from friendships? Are you okay with being friends with someone you disagree with politically? Hey, that's something that we all have to like decide for ourselves, and it's different for everyone. And I think for me is yes, I think I can end friendships or not be friends with people who have very different politics than for me. People who are just like support Trump still, regardless of all things happening, for example. And this is a question that always comes up with like Steve Shaw. It's like, hey, my aunt votes for against my rights. How do I deal with that? And I kind of And then that's the thing. It's like you can choose your friends. I think we can all agree you can choose your friends, and sometimes each person has to like think about and weigh their pros and cons. Do I value my principles over my friends, or my activism over my friends? And people make those value judgments differently. And I would like to think I would value my principles or my political activism over friends. But yet when I see and that's what I think is a good decision, or a correct decision, as it were. And so when we see someone who's making the other decision of friends over political activism, that's where it doesn't feel like a betrayal, but sometimes we can interpret it as a betrayal. And that's where sometimes we kind of like hate that person in a way for choosing the friend over their principles. And so, which goes back to like something that Ito Studios mentioned in the alt-right playbook episode of The Ship of Theseus, is how the left has a tendency to get burned, and so we have a paranoia against that. So that also kind of plays with the accusations of guilty by associations that get thrown around sometimes. But back to like something else, is that like in real life, this also kind of plays into engaging with the other side, because sometimes, like we just had Thanksgiving there, a holiday that I feel conflicted about because of the capitalist, imperialist, colonialist history of it. But it's about family gatherings and giving things, and then there's the family thing. I just consider myself lucky that even though my younger brother, who lives right behind that wall, is a Gamergator and Trump voter and pretty anti-feminist, is thankful that he doesn't talk politics. And to be fair to him as well, I don't talk politics much around him. And thankfully he's the only one in the family that is on that side of the political spectrum. I'm afraid my parents might be like liberal centrists in a way, because I know I'm out on Facebook as being a narco-communist, and my mom does see my Facebook, so she knows that. And thankfully she doesn't go, well, honey, Marx has very interesting ideas. Thankfully there's that. Not sure about my dad, though, but then again, hey, I don't have to talk politics around them, so there's that. Yeah. So I think all this I just brought up kind of plays into it as well.
Yeah.
Well, this is also something that played in for me when I was looking for a job after university. And the industry I'm in since I started working is pretty damn controversial in Germany. And I've been asked, well, how can you work there, and so on and that. Well, someone has to, and it's rather it was me who I know is doing it right. And we have the stuff around, we have to maintain it. Well, it's the nuclear industry, so yeah, people are weird about it over here. But there's two branches that I will never go in. One is prostitution and general sex work, because I'm asexual and that just wouldn't work. And the second one is weapons manufacturing.
Right.
And I remember my mom sent me a job ad, and well, that company sounds really good, and the job looks right up your alley. Maybe want to apply there. Then I looked up the company, and they were a weapons manufacturer. They were making this scattering munitions, where they throw bombs, and then lots of little bombs fall out, and children mistake them for toys and die. And then I told my mom about it, and I said, I'm never going to apply for any in that kind of job. My mother, yes, I didn't raise you like that.
Yeah. No, absolutely not. I don't know how, like, you could.
Yeah, and so I think with people, it's the same way. I'm friends with people who are have different political opinions than I do. So I have conservative friends. I get along very well with all my colleagues, even though I'm far more left than any of them. But well, I'm a socialist. That's kind of a given. But there's a hard line I draw. And if the politics involves killing people, but let's be honest, that's what Nazis want.
Yeah.
I won't touch that with a 10-foot pole. So, no.
Yeah, I think that we have, because people will often say, oh, you would just break off a friendship because of an opinion. Not just any opinion. Like,
no.
If you just came and you had like some minor policy difference from the way I approach things, or, you know, you were more liberal or whatever, but still we're on board with like human rights and basic dignity and that sort of thing, then we, you know, I'm fine.
Yeah.
But if you're like a racist person, or if you're interested in an ethno state, find somebody else to talk to. Like, 'cause I don't want anything to do with that, you know. And part of that too, like, I also am aware, I have told people, like, I'm going to be, I don't like use the word ally, but that's kind of what I'm going for. Like, you know, I tell Trent, I have made enough noises about people having basic rights and what I think that those rights should be. That, like, for instance, I said I was cis, I am cis. But for people who are trans, for people who are non-binary, I want to make sure that they know that I validate them, and every bit as much, and that I consider them to be equal and valid and support their rights in any way that, you know, I can. So when people come and they're like, well, but we could just, you know, I had someone in my talk to me the other day who was a TERF and said, well, we should get together as feminists. No, we don't believe the same thing. Like, we really don't. So, and I don't want to, like, I'm not going to sit here and talk about it with you. I just, you know, I put a hard line on, like you said, Marianne, like, there are some things that just take a hard line, and other things are flexible. It's not like everybody I talk to, I agree with all the time. I don't. But as a public, and as a public person who goes out, like, it is something that I have to take as a responsibility. It's not just for me. It's not just about me. Because I put myself in that position, right? Like, I went out and said, I'm going to make this public statement about these things, and I'm going to put forward my point of view, and I'm not going to go back on that by saying, but this turfy person over here is fine. Like, I could go hang out. Well, I mean, part of it too is I think I have a different definition of what a friend is.
Yeah.
Like, friends are, if I say that you're my friend, like, that's a real bond. That's not, I'm not fake it, you know, that's like, that means that I care about you as a person, and I'll be there for you, and I feel a sense of loyalty and trust with you. I just don't feel those feelings towards people that I consider terrible people. Like,
yeah.
Like, how am I supposed to have good, happy, trusting feelings towards you if you're horrible, like, and I think that you're horrible, like, how is that ever going to work? I don't know.
Yeah.
You go ahead.
Okay. 2 years ago, one of my aunts turned 60, and I went with my parents to her birthday celebration. And during the day, because it was in the city my parents went to university in, they met with some friends, and because I had nothing to do otherwise, I went with them to lunch. And my parents hadn't seen them in a while and were absolutely flabbergasted because they didn't recognize the people anymore. They not from looks, but they started talking about how great Trump was. This was before the election, and how terrible the current politicians in Germany and Austria were, and how bad the lying press was. That's the press is the German equivalent to fake news. And then they started in on the New World Order, and my parents just sat there. And then when we drove back to our hotel, they asked me, "Do you think if we hadn't moved to Germany, would we be like them now?"
That's what's so insidious about that.
Yes.
I mean, for me, I just said I have over 1,100 video games. There are some game systems right near my computer, my own Game Boy Color, my PSP, and so, but yet. And so when I found out my younger brother, I was just thinking, no, I could have easily fell into that black hole, that rabbit hole. And of course, it's not a curiosity stream unless we hear our children in the background.
Yeah, and I can't see them, which is Somebody mentioned they can see my the beautiful art. Aren't they geniuses? Look at them. Very, very brilliant artists, and they make me such gorgeous things. I haven't put this one up yet, but that also is going to be up there. It's very gorgeous. So
my parents have artwork in the kitchen that I drew when I was 3 or something.
Yeah. I'm going to be that person. Like,
it's even
framed. It's like, hey, it's genius work. So
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Back to my point, because I got distracted by courtesies of, oh yes, I could have easily become a gamer gator. I was just fortunate that, like, yes, I love video games, but then I got interested in something else, poker. And so from 2005 to 2013, I was playing that. So when and I just kind of fell out of interest of gaming culture and stopped reading like IGN, Blister Thumbs, or any of the gaming websites. So I was aware of it, but I was never deeply involved with it, unlike my younger brother who wants to be a video game journalist. And so then when I kind of saw, oh yeah, my younger brother has Twitter. Oh, he used hashtag Gamergate. And then I saw his blog. Okay, let's check out some of his blogs. And basically, yeah, he did a post every time in years key and say made a video of like tropes versus video games. And it's like, and he's my brother, so I want to. That's why engagement in that way is like I want to be able to help him. And I mentioned this in my older brother, and he also tries to like help him too. But at some point, sometimes with friends or with people or relatives, you gotta just like cut it off and say it's no good. You can put so much emotional effort into trying to convince them. But when my younger brother said, listen, Gamergate is not misogynistic because they have Christina Hoff Summers as Space Mom.
Well.
Oh, man.
I bet he will say he's not conservative, even though he voted for Trump. Because, yeah, so it's... at some point you just gotta like say no. Which is also goes to like the engagement is like I'm not going to talk to the right because or if I do talk to the right, if we do debate these kind of people, it's useful to do the debates in some ways because then you see their thinking exposed in such a way, which I think like Destiny is good at because he cannot convince any of those alt-right people that he talks to, but it does expose their thinking. Like Lauren Summerin said, well, listen, I'm only going off of anecdotes, not actual information, not actual studies or anything like that. Or then says something, hey, data is the anecdote of data is a plural of anecdote. And it's like,
yeah. Oh, yes. Well, that was Lauren Southern. Lauren Southern, too. That's somebody that I'm sorry, I have no respect for you if you are a friend of Lauren Southern. I mean, that would be like, because, I mean, she shot flare guns at boats with immigrants and Doctors with Borders in it. What does a person have to do to prove what kind of garbage they are? It's like, do you have to actually be with them and see them, I don't know, like throw rocks at homeless people? Like with that,
clubbing
like
baby seals?
do you have to actually physically be there when they're doing that? Or like, I don't understand that. And again, it's about like, if I say you're my friend, that means I like you and I think you're cool and a good person and I have some sort of basis of trust and intimacy with you. And if you're a monster like that, no, I wouldn't want that. Like, ew.
yeah.
So that was, I don't understand that. Like, I can understand to a degree people who are, like you say, who maybe have a basis of caring about other human beings and caring about the world, but have some different ideas about how to best go about doing things than I do, and policy differences. You know, to be honest, I don't do well with anybody who's not at least like liberal.
Agreed.
Like center liberal, and like I mean that in the American sense of the word, like not capital L liberal, but like having a basic understanding of being kind of at least a little on the left, and I don't mean people who lie. There are a lot of those people out there who are, I don't mean classical liberals, like they have to actually have some progressive or, you know, forward thinking views. Like I don't really do well with people who are much past that, because like it gets tiresome. I feel like I have to call them out when they do terrible things or say things like that I just totally disagree with. And it's like, how often are you going to do that? Like, is this fun yet? Like, this is a pleasant discussion. And that doesn't mean I can't be basically polite to people, you know? Like, I was there with, you know, I was at MythCon. I didn't throw things at people's heads. Like, I wasn't exactly the sweetest person you ever met with everybody. And a lot of people I just didn't talk to or didn't associate with. But the people I talked to, I was at least polite to.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm sure I certainly don't think that they would have gotten the impression that I wanted to hang out lots more. Actually, I could tell you a weird story. Do you want to hear?
Go ahead.
Weird story about Karen Strawn. So, because she had come up to me, and apparently, and I didn't realize this because there's like a backstage area. And she had, I guess, left her pocketbook there and it was open. And I guess she was just joking, but she just came up to me and says, I know you're rifling through my stuff. I know you must be fascinated by what's in there. And I'm just like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, I don't. And then, so she was kind of giving me crap about that. So I said, well, you can look through my pocketbook if you want to. All it has is lipstick and some tampons, but you can see if you like it, like if that'll make you feel better, go right ahead. And then we ended up just like, oh, you got to have the tampons. And she's like sitting here chatting with me about her periods and how she's like getting closer to the change. And I'm like, this is the most surreal moment of my life. Like, yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Now, like, but it was fine. Like, so if anybody wants to know more about that, exactly where we are in that very, very awkward, it was incredibly awkward, but at least it's an amusing story, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
I think the main reason that Karen Strong kind of like accused you of rifling through her pocketbook when you were just looking at it or noticed it, I think it's because like she would do that thing too. I always suspect that there's a bit of projection from someone on the right or from MRAs that will say, well, you're doing this, or everyone you disagree with, you're just calling them Nazis and stuff like that. And it's just like, well, after the Destitution said that Hitler was a liberal, I just like, if the Destitution says I'm a Nazi, I'm not going to take him seriously, as there's a lot about the Destitution I'm not going to take seriously. Oh, I want to bring up one thing that Sabrina said in the live chat. What's the point of friendship if you constantly feel like you need to call out your friends because they're being terrible? And that's an interesting like little thing.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
So, like, once in a while, I don't mind. Like, I am friends with people like Sophane from and Rim Michaelis. There's like a couple of people who have either for whatever reason they just can say problematic things or like things that I'm just like, oh my God, what do you? And then I talk to, but like if I'm in a position where at least I can talk to them and then they'll hear me and say, okay, I understand where you're coming from. And, whatever, like that's fine with me. Like, and I think that they're coming from a good place basically, and they care about people basically. They just maybe have a different kind of a sharper sense of humor, or they just come from a different sort of cultural background, a little more rough around the edges, that they don't, or that they're not fully educated on every little thing. That's fine. But that's about as far as I can go.
Again, from the live chat, Garrett. Hey, Garrett, your video is awesome. Glad you're back, as always. Anyway, I would like to add that I find it difficult to be friends with people who, while they aren't terrible, support systems that cause terrible harm to society. And yeah, that's another thing. Is like I also have been in like hangouts and had actually surprisingly friendly chat with a person who's like right wing and yet and right libertarian, and it's just like, hey, man, I come away actually agreeing with that person more often than I thought I would. I guess I gotta like go back onto their channel again and actually just like, okay, let's actually talk about like the capitalism and how it's horrible. Oh my God, here we go talking about capitalism and like this. And then he will use ableist words, and no, that person I call out every time he uses ableism and stuff like that. Again, it's just like, I don't know if should say I'm friends with this person, because he also says there's only two genders, and it's like personally, I just like, So I think I just got to call him out more being a bigot. And yeah, I guess I should. Yeah, I don't know if I'm friends with this person. I guess I'm friendly. I guess I maybe should disassociate. It's definitely. I'm not going to defend that person in public. That's for sure. They say something like crappy, I'm going to call out them out on it. And yeah, and but yet. It feels like, oh wait, that person defended a trans woman who was really being harassed on the street and stuff like that. So I see good in that person, and I know that they're young. Kind of a fallacy there as well. Oh, they're just young, they're just naive, I guess. But yet, I feel like there's possibility that they could like sway over and come to the left. But then again, back to the original question: well, how much emotional energy are you going to put into this one person who may not always agree and may not see needs to size when? Many people on the left have said, listen, it's just easier to talk to liberals than it is to talk to like right wingers and stuff like that.
Mm. There's two categories of people I can't help but be suspicious when I first interact with them. The first one is teachers, due to rather horrific experiences I had with them at school. So if I get to know someone and later learn they are a teacher, it's fine. But if I meet someone for the first time and for some reason they tell me they are a teacher, I'm very, very distrustful. Mm-hmm. And the other kind of person are the people who mention very often that they are very religious, because my experience has been that the people who are overtly religious and bang on about it generally have something to hide. Be it cheating on their spouses or what have you.
I just watched a Race, the independent film starring Lucas Hedge and Russell Crowe and Nicole Kidman, about is based off the memoir Boy a Race by Jared Conley, who went to a conversion therapy camp and stuff like that. And the interesting thing is that like it's a good movie. I highly recommend it if you get a chance to see it. And it's kind of interesting that they did like the things like, since it's based off a true story, here's what this person, here's what this person. The guy who was running the conversion therapy actual place is a real guy, or the rear Victor Sykes or something like that. He left that and been married with his husband since 2008. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Like, I guess I think it's like you said. Like, if someone's just religious, I don't care. But if somebody is sort of a very, very traditional evangelical, that sort of thing, I go, no thanks. But I like it's not even so much that that I wouldn't be friends with them. It's that I know that they wouldn't want to be friends with me.
Yes.
Like, listen, this won't work. What are we even going to talk about? Like, we're just our fundamental idea of how the world exists and how it works and what we should do in our day-to-day lives. We're just not even starting from the same place there. Like, it's not it's just not a thing I think that we're really gonna, unless we're really, really careful about never talking about anything.
But what's the fun of that?
Yeah.
Like, Sabrina has made a couple of more like interesting points that I want to add to the discussion. Like, hey, Sabrina, you're doing awesome again. The thing is that like people can support, for example, capitalism out of ignorance without being terrible. And then like Lucan Neckel is also added, or are unsupportive of social justice issues because of indoctrination, or they never had considered it, so they stick with the cultural defaults and stuff like that. So that's why that's why where you got to be careful. Well, the thing is like I do see why it's important to call out things, call out bigotry, racism, sexism, misogyny, all those, and ableism, and like anti-LGBTQ plus things. But yes, people, especially in America, or at least in the West, we are so culturally indoctrinated to like not be wrong. Every time we get something wrong at school, on an assignment, on a test, we're marked down. And because we live in capitalism, and our worth on this assignment or on this test is graded on a scale, and you want to be at the top of the scale, not at the bottom of the scale. You want to get A's, not D's. And so when we're told that's what we're saying is wrong, we feel it's almost we do get defensive, which like studios have talked about in great length in the Why Are You So Angry video series. Peter Coughlin did a perpetual correctness, very important documentary as well. And Garrett remind me that's definitely not just a Western thing. And thank you. And so is some people would do like the Mike Rowan things, call things out that he sees are just wrong right then and there, and people will say, but don't you know that people will get defensive? Like, and our hope is that like they'll be introspective. That doesn't always work with some people. And sometimes, especially when Mike Rowan does it on Twitter, there's a point to do it on Twitter where it's just like, even if you're not the person that you're being targeted for saying something problematic, it's still used as an example of like, hey, this is something problematic. We should not do this if we want to be good people and stuff like that. And so, yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough problem. And I don't, I guess, and thank you, by the way, for keeping an eye on the chat. When I read the chat too much, I start to get very distracted from the conversation I'm having with people. So I tend to do either one or the other. So, but I do appreciate people who can actually split their focus.
My coworker suspects I might be ADD or ADHD, and I've just said I've never been tested for that, so I'm not sure. Maybe I am. But at work, I have like a metal plate where it's like there's my name, my real name, Johnson Scott, which is public knowledge, and then next to it is Multitask Ninja. Because Facebook told me, hey, you work in the stockroom, here's a t-shirt for you, stockroom. Or because Multitask Ninja is not a job title.
Really? I don't know. Maybe.
Well, that's why I call myself. That's why I call myself on Twitter Multitask Ninja and cosplayer of the left.
Yeah, I was lucky to be raised by two very introspective people.
Mm-hmm.
So, who both have the ability to admit when they're wrong and are very open to changing their minds. And this was mainly caused by being raised by people who actually were the complete opposite. So mainly their parenting approach was, how did our parents do it? Like this, let's do the opposite. And a few years ago, we went to the movies together, and there was a French comedy, supposed comedy. I didn't find the movie very funny. It was called The Super Hypochondriac. But it was about a guy who was really, really afraid of germs and getting ill and everything. He basically had to have whole pharmacy in his flat, and the whole thing was just incredibly ableist, because the punchline was, look at that crazy person, how silly they are. And my mental health at the time wasn't the greatest, and I was just sitting there thinking, this isn't funny. And then afterwards, we talked about the movie, and my parents said, and did you like the movie? Me, no, and it wasn't funny. Why? Then I explained why I didn't find it funny. My mother was like, yeah, you're right. that's actually pretty shitty writing, and especially lazy writing.
A quick question from the live chat. In the background, Marianne, that's the cello, right?
Yes, that's a cello.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's one thing. My parents also, like, even though I was raised Catholic, as I already mentioned before, my parents raised all me and my brothers to be open-minded and to think for ourselves, which I always joke to say that's what led all four of us to be agnostic or atheistic of some kind. Because also my brothers watched YouTube with the atheist YouTube's kind of scene. So I do know of R and Raw, I do know of October 54, and but I never was actively involved in that community. Thankfully, my brothers, though, they left the atheist scene when it was started being like either Islamic phobic, or they stopped watching Thunderfoot once he started being anti-feminist. So I'm grateful that at least my older brothers kind of like, okay, I'm not, don't want to be a part of that. And it just a little disappointing to see, well, someone that has the same upbringing or the same genes as I am goes in an opposite direction. And back to the like, oh, I could have been that person too, which is also why I wish he wasn't though. But at some points, you just gotta cut them off. Say hello to my little friend. I saw that, Garrett. You made me giggle.
Yeah, so I don't know. And then there's the question of things like debates and things, and I do think that has to be done carefully. But I don't know. Yes. I don't like to really tell other people how to handle their online presence.
Agreed.
Like, I mean, at a certain point, like, again, if you're hanging out with Lauren Southern, I'm not going to hang out with you. Yeah. Like, we're not going to be, because, like, I don't understand you, and I don't understand where you're coming from, and I don't respect that. But, like, I try not to tell people what to do.
Yeah, I hate to be friend policing either as well. And it's kind of like, and so I don't want to hold it too much against someone, or again, who I'm feel close to. We had conversations with each other, so I really like this person, and he's friends with this other person, but yet at least it's like, oh no, yeah, I really disagree with that other person about a lot of different things. I don't really like that person, so it's like, okay, so you can at least separate that. So but yet I don't, I'm an anarchist. I don't want to tell other people what to do. Yeah. And same thing with like holding debates. I mean, people can like all say, don't go on to like the kill stream, or don't go on to like Warski because of X, Y, Z, which we have all known about and stuff like that. But and sometimes it's, I don't know, it's like, is it worse to be friends with a bigot, or to have a friendly chat with a bigot but not be friends with them? And I don't know. And it's like, sometimes it's like, hey, listen, do you go, if you are invited onto their stream on their thing, that's one thing. It's like they are platforming the progressive person and stuff like that. It's not like that progressive person is platforming them on their platform, which, so I can separate that in that regard. It's something like that. It's different if like the progressive person is platforming a bigot in a way, something like that, and how they do it as well. They're going to have a friendly chat, or they're just going to be like Dave Rune, oh, I see your point, or are they actually going to challenge that person? So it's, again, how they handle it can be different. But then again,
well, I wanted to throw out here, because and we haven't been talking like other than Lauren Southern, but for the most part we haven't been like naming names. And I did want to say that Kevin Logan had gone on Andy Warski's stream, and he did that because he was under the impression, after Andy Warski had sort of like kicked JF Garabi to the curb or whatever,
Yeah.
that he had gotten away from that and he was trying to do better. And so afterwards I sent him some things about things that he has said since then. And when he realized that, then he was like, oh, well, I didn't know. And I wouldn't, like, if I had known, that would have been a whole different thing. And so he did release a statement. So I did want to say that, like, sometimes I'm not going to, like, share the whole private conversation or whatever. But,
yeah, exactly.
But I did, like, I think that sometimes people don't know. And, talking to them privately is a good thing to start with. And then if that doesn't work, like, I'm not saying you can't criticize people.
Right.
Yeah.
Or that we shouldn't, as people on the left, be criticizing each other, because there are a lot of things, like, people who hang out with each other, who socialize, it gets, people rub off on each other. It changes what you think about as normal. It's gonna again, it's that the Attila the Hun gardener problem. Like, what happens when Attila comes by and says, oh, come on, buddy, I'm a little short on marauders today. And then you're, like, in this bad position where you have to tell Attila the Hun that you don't want to do that because it's not really your thing. Are you going to do that? No. Like, it's going to be awkward, at least. Like, it changes who you are to some degree, because that's how social animals work. It changes your normal. It changes how you talk. We just rub off on each other. And so you're either going to sit there and police yourself and make sure that, like, you're not having an effect, the people that you're hanging out with, even on a professional level or on a media level, like that is not causing this problem. But it's weird. Like, I mean, even if you're just on a stream with someone, say you've been on a stream with the same person like 4 or 5 times, and you've been talking about politics and you've disagreed with each other about politics and whatever. It's not like you're good friends or anything, but even still, now you have a relationship.
Yeah.
There is a relationship there now, and you have to sort of deal with that, So it's really, I find it really tricky. Like, and I find I think honestly, for most people, probably the easiest way is just not to have these kinds of, like, if somebody is truly questionable to you, just don't do anything with them. Yeah. Like, that's probably the easiest way to go about it, because then you're not going to be in these positions, right? And, if you like, but if you do think you can handle it and you think that there's some benefit to it, I can understand doing that too. I'm not going to say don't. I just think that you have to really go in with your eyes wide open and know it's going to be hard, and know that these things are going to come up, Yeah. Or now I'm watching the chat now. Or have no friends. that is, a valid choice in life. And there have been times, like, when I'm just like, oh God, you know what? Humans suck. I'm just not. I can barely tolerate myself.
And that's another thing about, like, humans as well, is that, like, we're social creatures. We want to feel connections with others, and but also it's just like we're all complicated. It's not either or 0 to 100%. I tolerate a lot of ambiguity, and that really, 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 really upset a ANCAP I had discussions with. But I did get to say that ANCAP that anarcho-capitalists are just big babies who don't want to pay taxes. And yet we, like I said before, we all have our different lines of where to cross and something like that. Some people want to feel they can separate politics from friendships, or in politics from engagement, I guess, and something like that, which are two different discussions that we've been having. And where's the line? That's different for other people. And some people say and again, it's like, and some people have different answers to the question. It's worse to which is better, which is worse, being friends with a bigot or engaging with a bigot. And so, yeah, we don't all have all the answers, but that's fine because we continue to learn. Because if I stop learning, I feel like my brain will be dead. This will continue going on. I like to keep on thinking. I think that's good. And I also want to be able to listen to others, because even like in other things, like, oh, I thought that was a really good movie, but then like a feminist would say, yeah, that was sexist. Oh, I did not recognize that aspect of the movie. That my opinions of that movie has now changed, and I actually have done that for quite a few times in like the last few years. And sometimes like, I really like Steins Gate. Oh, there's problematic aspects of Steins Gate with the trans woman that's not called a trans woman. Oh, but there's like queer platonic relationships in that. So it's like sometimes I can be like, I love it, I hate it, I love it, I hate it, I love it, I hate it. But no, it's more as like, I love it, oh, I love it, but not as much. Oh, okay, I like this aspect of it more, and you can separate that. And yeah. And again, being hamped up the caffeine caused me to be like this.
I just want to say the mistress is here. Hello. Mwah. That's a
oh, die Hagen.
Sorry. I know everybody's like, what is she?
I used to be a huge fan of the Nostalgia Critic between like 2008 to like 2011. I just fell out of it. So then learning about the change the channel thing is just like, wow, I'm glad I'm no longer a fan of that site anymore, but I'm still a fan of many of the great creators that were on it and stuff like that, and glad that they're now in much better situation than they are now.
Yeah, that whole mess was like, somehow that doesn't surprise me.
Exactly. I was also hearing rumors about how that was people would say that's a shitty site, and like for a while I was like, but I'm a fan of it. I like their videos and stuff like that. But I was already starting to drift away from that site, and so then I would discover again the individual video creators back on YouTube. Oh, Lindsay Ellis. Oh, Dan Olson. Actually, no, wait, I never was a fan of Dan Olson until after he left the site already. But yeah, but I got to also meet him at Prax Prime, and that was really cool because I told him how his Gamergate video was so important to me to understand my younger brother. And so that it's cool to know that sometimes people that you see online say make great content and great videos are also actually cool in person. So yeah.
Yeah. I didn't mean to open that can of worms, but I think it's worth it's worth telling people never trust a YouTuber. Like, no, we're all assholes. No, I'm kidding, mostly. But what I mean is there is an aspect where it's like you don't know if the person is the same person that, you know, behind the scenes as they are in front. And like, that's just the reality of the thing. I'm mostly the same because like, I'm not that good an actress. So it's just going to have to be like, I think if there's a couple things that are probably different about me, it's probably that I'm a little more outgoing when the camera is on.
Yeah.
Because
I'm an actor too. So I'm an actor actually. Wait a minute, you said you're not an actress. So okay. So
no.
Okay. I'm an actor. So it's always like the different Jonathan Scott who is at home just been sitting in front of this computer just playing around, and a different Jonathan Scott who's at the Magic the Gathering table playing Magic the Gathering, or the poker table, and just playing with the chips and stuff like that. And the different Jonathan Scott in the math class who's just quiet and just like sits there and stuff like that, as opposed to the Jonathan Scott who's like, I'm here, I'm Jonathan Scott on the theater stage, now clap for me.
So
Yeah.
but everybody should check out Demanda Hagen's channel. Did I say that right?
Diamanda Hagen, I think.
Demanda Hagen.
Well, this conversation went in a slightly different direction. Yes,
it did. And I think I'm not sure if it was my fault.
I will blame something else other than my own actions with the caffeine I drank in this energy drink.
Hagen. And everybody should, yeah, that's it. We should change the subject. Back to something else. We were talking about associations. Did we say basically everything I can think of to say? I think we did.
I think we did. Yeah.
And is there anybody else out there who has any questions before we take off? I will read the chat.
HK asks, man of many hats. No, wait, I thought he was asking the question how many hats I have. I have like 25. So let's just quickly show off some of the other hats, like the Boba Fett fez, since we mentioned Darth Vader already. But unfortunately, because of the mustache, if I wear a trilby, I would be just like that, like one character in the H Bomber Guy video, and I have a sword too. No, you must take it back. You must take it back now. I'm rational. Questions from the chat. So, how about them Sargon? There's a lot to talk about. That's a whole nother strain all on its own. Let's just leave it at that, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I should say that I am going to. I've got Garrett's actual segment on the Rocky video.
Oh,
is going to be coming up. This huge, video series I'm just doing on Rocky the movie because it just, to me, I'm obsessed with it, and it has a lot in there that I need to talk about, and I'm just like that. But Garrett's got his segment out. And that's coming out. And I am, because I know I sort of abandoned, I was doing a MythCon series, and I abandoned it for a while because I actually went. So I figured, well, if I'm going to go, I should just wait. And I do plan on doing a video on Sargon's debating. Just well, and not just to make fun of him, but because I think it's good to take a look at what these people are thinking about and how they're formulating their brain thoughts. What the hell is wrong with the way that they do it? So
yeah, exactly. Oh, I just remembered something because we talked about you mentioned Kevin Logan in the private conversation you have. That's another thing about any people about engagements or friendships and stuff like that. When you present these, hey, this is a problem I have with you in privately or stuff like that, how they react to criticism, how people react to criticism can sometimes really that could be the whole thing of like how they react to criticism. Are they yes, it is a Ghost in the Shell hat, Marianne. I love that show. Do they? Oh, I guess you're right. Then okay, that's the person that we're talking to. But if they react to the criticism like, "What are you talking about? What do you mean? How do you say? What do you think I'm a bad person? How dare you?" Then it's like, because sometimes the cover up is worse than the crime in a way, and stuff like that. That's a strong analogy there, but yeah.
Yeah, it's always better if you actually want somebody to listen to you. It's always better to at least try and approach them nicely. But I mean, at this point, from being on YouTube and Twitter for so long, I don't think I have a normal calibration of what people are supposed to talk to other people like. Like, you could basically come up and just be like, look, you friggin' idiot. And I'd be like, yeah, what? Like, this seems normal to me. So I don't know. I don't find myself, if anything, I find myself having to be to remind myself to be nice to other people. And like, just because I've spent 2 years debating with misanthropic shitlords who have no concept of how normal human interactions are supposed to work, doesn't mean I should just abandon them myself. So I'm trying to be nice.
And another thing is, like, sometimes when you're engaging with these people in debates or something like that, that when they're on camera or on the show, they're in a character, kind of like how Nostalgia Critic is not Doug Walker. He's the character. And then we got all these other people who are characters in their videos and yet using the same kind of like angry person, how dare you do this sort of thing, which is fine when you're talking about movies, but yet you're also presupposing that like this is a terrible movie, let's make fun of it, which is not really that useful. As like, well, was this a good movie? How is this a good movie? Could have been improved better and stuff like that. But then when they take like, this is terrible, let's make fun of this and be angry at you, and then talk about social issues, that's where like a lot of problems came out, as it were. I noticed that connection, how their character, which is like how this person was a character, it's fine that you're talking about bad movies, but when you talk about feminism, you're doing harm to the world.
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes I really just don't know. But we have been going for probably an hour and something now. And I do, like, I hate to be like, I gotta, but I have some family that are in town because of the holiday weekend, so I have to go, like, be nice to people who I'm related to. So, I have to go associate. No, I love my family, and they're great, and they are not reactionaries and racists. So yes, yeah. So I lucked out.
Yeah.
Actually, my dad sent me a guillotine meme the other day. He's like, and it said something like, "This one weird trick will help you with your with your tax or your, oh, what is it? Like your money not balancing out, brain not working.
Check balance book, the checkbook.
No, not the checkbook. It's like when some people with wealth inequality problem. This one will. Yeah, that's what it was. This one weird trick will help with the wealth inequality problem, and he's sending me pictures of guillotines. So
oh, little Arno, our French friend, would be proud.
It's like, thanks, Dad. So if anything, I have to calm them down. But anyway, I do have to go and have dinner. But thanks to everybody, all the people in the chat, and thank you, of course, to my patrons, and who are really cool. And I'm so glad. I'm planning now to do a monthly stream, and the idea is, because now that I kind of stream most every Saturday evening, but I'm planning to like set aside the last Saturday of every month as being for patrons, and there's, I'm sure, a link below, and if I forgot to link it, I will remember later, where anybody else can go and be a patron, because, you know, I'm sure they'll tell you it's a lot of fun. Not kidding. I'm terrible at this. Oh my God. This is why I didn't become a salesperson, people. Because I would
I would hate being a salesperson.
You could buy this or not. I don't like, it's up to you. I don't know. What are you doing?
And now as an anarchist or as a socialist and a communist, I would hate to be a salesperson, because then like I would be the ultimate capitalist in a way, and I just like, oh, I don't feel right doing that. No, you should need this thing, and I can help you get it if you need it. But you don't need it. Have a good day.
Right. Well, this has gone off the rails, and thank you everybody for watching it. And I'm sure we'll do it again. I'll be here next week, and you know, in a month, me and my fine patrons will be back, and it will be awesome. So bye everybody, love you all.
Bye.
Yourself is awesome. Go subscribe to her.